Years later, the repercussions showed that Alice had been wrong to allow Jack to sleep in the stable with the foal. When Alice found out that Jack had fled, she became terrified. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. She praised the police's efforts and oddly thought that the bus driver's hoax may contain important information. It was known that Jack was on the bus, but it was unclear where he was going. When the police looked at the bus station cameras, they were shocked to see that it was definitely Jack. Why would he be traveling against the direction of the school on the bus? Jack's parents immediately recognized the cause, whereas the police had no idea. They were unable to comprehend Jack's abilities, but they were forced to drive quickly in the hopes of making it in time. Alice participated in and excelled at equestrian contests when she was little. Alice realized she needed to take action after reading about the plight of combat horses. She was able to launch a horse farm where horses were given a second shot at life and cared for back to health after getting financial help from those close to her. Alice and her husband, Greg, made every effort to assist the horses each day. Even after the birth of Jack, a healthy small child who developed an obsession with the farm's horses, Greg and Alice were unable to envision any other future for themselves. Sam was brought in as a young foal who was separated from his mother and suffering from acute malnutrition. He improved and recovered swiftly. He had a unique relationship with Tiny Jack when they first met. At one time, Jack and Sam napped together in the stable since they were so close. Sam would have such a fit if Jack wasn't around that Alice and Greg would bring him over. Alice and Greg had to sell Sam when Jack was 6 years old. It didn't look good for Jack to live his entire life on a horse farm, despite the close relationship he shared with Sam. Sam needed a location where he could be ridden daily and receive even greater care. Jack had an extremely hard time processing this news. After 2 years, the horse farm had not altered much. Jack would play with the horses every day while Alice and Greg took care of any horses that came in. Once the horses were mature and healthy, they would be sold. But there was something off about Jack. Jack seems to have changed from the minute Sam was sold. He was no longer the contented youngster he had was. Alice made the decision that they should take Jack to the riding school where Sam was being held, and Greg joined them right away after learning of their plan. Jack would undoubtedly feel better after doing this. But instead of telling Jack where they were going for the weekend, they merely informed him that they were departing. They entered their vehicle and began the 6-hour trip on Saturday morning. Jack was still unaware of the situation. When they arrived at a riding school, he noticed the horses in the fields, but he didn't know why they were there. When he spotted a stunning, stately bay horse at the far end of the field, he knew right once it was Sam. Jack scampered under the fence and dashed onto the field without thinking. Upon noticing this, Sam immediately went to Jack since, despite their years apart, he still recognized who Jack was, and all he wanted was to play with him once again. Over the weekend, they were inseparable once more. Jack started crying once again when it came time to go. Both Jack and they were happy that they attended the riding school. Despite his happiness, he was unable to control his tears. As Jack appeared to be feeling better, the days stretched into weeks, which in turn stretched into months. After seeing how he felt, Alice and Greg stopped worrying about whether it was the right choice to bring him back to Sam. The fact that their kid was no longer depressed made Alice and Greg very pleased. They were unaware that this was going to change. Jack barely saw his parents for a few hours each day and started to spend less and less time at the horse farm. Jack eventually stopped visiting the horse farm, and his parents were too preoccupied to see what was truly happening. Over the last 2 weeks, Jack came up with a scheme. Everyone around him would be shocked by what he did. When he took the bus to school the following day, everything became plain to him. Around 11 in the morning, Alice received a call from Jack's school asking whether she had seen Jack. They assumed he would be in school as they hadn't phoned in sick. Hearing that gave Alice the shock of her life. After a few minutes, Alice gathered herself, hurried up to Greg, and shared her newfound knowledge with him. Greg snatched up his phone and called the police right away. but they informed him that they could only report someone missing after a full day had passed. Greg was furious and informed the police that this was absurd, but he was unable to stop it. In an attempt to locate their son, Greg got into his car and drove around the area. Hours passed while he drove about with no trace of Jack. Greg rushed straight to the police station the following day to report his kid missing. He felt that they had wasted a day, though, and was irritated that this was only feasible after a single day. Following a great deal of paperwork, the whole police force took their turn. In the town where they resided, hardly much happened. Most crimes were minor. Something as significant as the loss of a kid was out of the ordinary. To start their investigation, the police started interrogating a lot of people. Local newspapers and the news carried pictures of Jack, along with an appeal to the police station for anyone who might have seen him. But days passed with no fresh leads until the school bus driver was questioned by the police. There was no other way for Jack to get off the bus before he arrived at school, so they had made every stop since the day he vanished. The case started as soon as they did. On the route to school, there was only one stop, and that was at the nearby bus station, from where buses left for several destinations around the nation. The police officers headed straight to the bus stop where Jack would have disembarked. The employees of the bus terminal initially believed they had not seen Jack. They had been watching the news and would have alerted the police if they had. The cops requested them to inspect the cameras just to make sure. An officer felt he spotted someone who looked like Jack after hours of examining the video. They were astonished when they rewound and sharpened the image. After placing a picture of Jack next to the video, they were able to confirm that it was, in fact, him. After watching the video, they saw Jack getting on a bus that was taking him to a little rural town 6 hours away. Officials were baffled as to why he would pick such a distant area with wide-open fields and no amenities. They looked to Jack's parents for help in their time of need and happened onto Alice and Greg's horse property. When Alice heard the village's name, she started crying and asked what it meant. The place they had visited years before, where Sam had been sold at the riding school, suddenly became obvious. Alice and Greg immediately climbed into their vehicle and started the 6-hour trip to the riding school. Uncertain but resolute, they embarked on a quest to find out where Jack was. Alice and Greg told the owners their tale when they arrived at the riding school. Nothing out of the ordinary was found in the fields they explored. As uncertainty began to creep in, they saw something strange. They rushed to Sam's stable and found Jack soundly dozing next to the horse. They were so excited that they woke him up and voiced their worries. Given the close relationship between Jack and the horse, the owners demanded Sam's return. Sam and Jack were reunited as best friends and returned to the horse farm within a week, both of them prospering and inseparable. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.